Welcome, listeners, to another episode of Panel Pals, the comic book podcast for thinkers. We're your hosts, Jack Stewartson.
And Diane Hitchings.
Diane, don't you love a good feeling?
Yes. A fun opener, I do.
Diane, have you ever had a genderless burger experience?
Explain.
Diane, how familiar are you with Nirvana, the band, the show?
Oh.
Not Nirvana, like not the band Nirvana, but Nirvana, the band.
I'm not at all, I guess. I'm familiar with the music, but that is not what you're talking about, are you?
No, I'm going to need you to go ahead and look into this. And it's going to take some research because it's not readily available, but it's worth the rabbit hole. It's worth the journey. Okay. I'll tell you that much. So Nirvana the band, the show, is like a comedy troupe out of Toronto, and they're also filmmakers. And they used to do, first they were doing like web content, and then they had a TV show in the kind of late aughts, early 2010s. And like almost a decade and a half later, they've released this movie, and it's the best movie I've ever seen this year, which admittedly we're in February as we're recording, but it's incredible. It has the greatest special effects I've seen since Terminator 2, like 20 or 30 years ago. I'm not kidding.
For a moment, I was like, are you being sarcastic?
No, I'm not joking.
Okay.
It is Canadian-centric. It's set entirely in Toronto, which is very funny. No, it's a good time. Sorry, I wanted to give that a plug right at the beginning of the episode. Okay. I can't stop thinking about this.
This makes a little bit more sense because I saw a poster for the movie at like a movie theater, and I was like, oh, the fuck? Huh? What's happening?
Well, that's not Kurt. That's not Kurt Cobain.
I was so confused. I was like, what does this have to do with Nirvana? I was so confused. And I was like, okay, whatever. Now I know vaguely what that's about. And it's not just some random thing that the movie theater was just using to fill space.
From the outset, it looks like it, but
it does, because I have no context.
It's an incredible experience, and you can watch the movie without having seen the show or the web series. But I implore everyone, and if you're listening to this, if they have one takeaway from this episode, it's Nirvana the band, the show is incredible.
All right, I will add it to the list. Maybe next time they have the $5 Tuesday movies or at whatever the cinema by my place is. I'll go and see that. Good stuff.
Good stuff. Sorry, do you have anything you want to add off the top?
No, nothing's exciting. I forgot my lunch this morning when I was going to work, so I didn't eat for 8 hours. That was fun. No,
that's not fun. That is not fun.
That's okay. They had iced tea in the break room, so I was
right
sustained. That's all that's been happening in my life. Nope, not nearly as... I guess I will have to revisit whatever you said at the start about the Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie, or whatever. I'll have to find out the context for that.
You will.
I'm still thinking about, what do you mean a genderless burger experience?
It sounds like you needed a genderless burger experience.
I guess. I'll find out. I'll find out if I do.
Okay, well, enough about that. Today we're talking about a comic book called Crossover as part of our ongoing Children of Watchmen mini-series, sub-series? I don't know what you want to call it.
Yeah, sub-series.
Before we get started, Diane, do you have any general thoughts about this?
I liked it.
Really?
Yeah.
I kind of find that surprising. Okay.
I would love to know your reasoning for why you're surprised. I mean, I can think of some reasons why people would be surprised that I like this. It's not perfect. I have some notes, but no, I had a genuinely good time reading this.
I'm okay. Well, that will make for kind of an interesting discussion then, I guess.
I can't wait.
Nighttime what ifs. What if superheroes were real? It's a question that's been asked on every playground, at least half of all children's birthday parties, and in dingy comic book shops all over the world. It's a question Richard Donner and Mario Puzo tried to answer in their 1978 adaptation of Superman, and presumably what every subsequent superhero film has tried to answer since. It's a question so prominent that a trend emerged in the mid to late 2000s of real people dressing up in superhero attire to perform homeless outreach and neighborhood patrols. It's also the question which makes up the premise of Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons' Watchmen. Not only are the main characters of Watchmen naturally grounded in their psychology and abilities, their presence also shifts the culture of their world in a logical way. Rorschach, Silk Spectre, Night Owl, and the Comedian all present as flesh and blood human beings, flaws and all, rather than broad comic book archetypes. Dr. Manhattan, being the only supernatural being in the narrative, albeit based in a scientific realm, naturally changes how physics, technology, and history are shaped in the setting of Watchmen. Moore and Gibbons' magical realism approach, wherein the whole of a fantastic fictional element is explored throughout the text, is often cited as being a unique case among its genre. This isn't exactly the case. For one thing, plenty of works have explored similar territory in Moore and Gibbons' wake. Mark Millar and John Romita Jr.'s Kick-Ass, Kurt Busiek and Stuart Immonen's Superman Secret Identity, Brian K. Vaughan and Tony Harris's Ex Machina, and George R.R. Martin's Wild Cards universe all exemplify similar but different takes on the real and gritty superhero trope. Moreover, there are plenty of examples of realistic superheroes which predate Watchmen. Alan Moore himself was doing realistic superheroes as early as 1982 with his reimagining of Marvel Man. Moore often cites his Marvel Man collaborator Rich Veitch's The One from 1985 as being an inspiration for writing flawed superheroes in a contemporary Cold War setting. That same year's Squadron Supreme maxi-series from writer Mark Gruenwald and artist Marco Turini saw a team of Justice League-esque superheroes trying to solve legitimate real-world issues as well as deal with the nuances and compromises that come with global policy reform. One could argue that realism in superheroics was an inevitable march from its genre's conception, from Siegel and Schuster to Lee, Kirby, and Ditko, and into the present. And yet again I ask, what if superheroes were real? Like really real? What if Superman, the fictional guy whose adventures you read in Action Comics, was simultaneously living in a real place that you could visit? What if you could really meet your favorite fictional characters? And what would they think of us? How would they act if you met them? The premise of fiction meets reality is well-explored territory both inside and out of comics. Robert Heinlein's often maligned Number of the Beast supposes a vehicle which allows its passengers to visit fictional characters and worlds. More famously, and more successfully, Gary K. Wolfe's Who Censored Roger Rabbit invents a hard-boiled Los Angeles in which comic strip characters and formal comics mechanics coexist with human beings and conventional physics. In the novel, its comic strip inhabitants have word balloons appear above their heads when they speak or think, turning formal comics elements into diegetic ones. Wolfe's playing with comics conventions, as well as the melding of noir elements with classic comic tropes, recalls Moore and Gibbons' own subversions of the form in Watchmen. Roger Rabbit's film adaptation, Robert Zemeckis' Who Framed Roger Rabbit, shifts the plot to focus on classic animated characters and iconography rather than comic books. The technologic achievement of the Roger Rabbit film, wherein 2D characters are incorporated and played against 3D actors in space, led to a plethora of similar what-if-such-and-such cartoon came to life premises. Space Jam, Rocky and Bullwinkle, Fat Albert, and at least 3 Smurfs movies all attempt to ape off the success of Roger Rabbit, always to diminishing returns. Back in the 4-color space, comics have gone so far as to have their creations physically breaking the fourth wall in order to meet their creators, such as James Robinson's and Greg Hinkle's controversial Airboy, or most famously Grant Morrison's appearances in Animal Man and last year's Batman/Deadpool. Both of these kinds of premises of fiction incepting non-fiction are often criticized as commercial attempts to bait nostalgic adults. It draws comparisons to Moore's own opinions of superhero movies, stated in an interview with Deadline that seemed to speak to some kind of longing to escape from the complexities of the modern world and go back to a nostalgic, remembered childhood. That seemed dangerous. It was infantilizing the population. Moreover, these kinds of meta-intrusions rarely explore their premise to a fully realized, holistic degree, like Watchmen or Roger Rabbit. Save for the most recent and most ambitious example, which makes up this episode's subject. Donny Cates, a self-proclaimed student of Moore, got his start in comics interning at Marvel while attending the Savannah College of Art and Design's Sequential Arts program. He would accept a staff position writing for Dark Horse in 2013, where he would get the green light on a number of indie titles, including his own creations, The Paybacks. In 2017, Cates would collaborate with Geoff Shaw to create God Country for Image Comics, a 6-issue miniseries centering on a man with dementia discovering an all-powerful weapon that cures his ailments at the cost of potentially dooming the world by reigniting a war with old gods. Cates' rise to prominence would hit a peak after beginning a critically and fan-adored 48-issue run on Venom at Marvel in 2018. Cates' career represented a boom in creator-driven comics both independently and within the Big Two, with him gaining acclaim and sales on a number of Cosmic Marvel projects and creator-owned works at Image. In 2020, it was announced that Cates and Shaw would collaborate once again on a new series, Crossover. After a massive energy surge in Denver, Colorado causes characters and devices from all of comicdom to converge into the real world, a giant dome is erected to separate 4-colored characters from non-fictional living beings. As a result, comics and nerd culture writ large are considered taboo, as the mainstream comics industry is shut down by government censorship and fandom is shunned. A rash of mysterious killings of prolific, real-world comics creators start to make headlines. 3 years later, in Provo, Utah, Ellipses' Ellie Howell is working at one of the few remaining comic stores in the country with her boss, Otto. When a comic character, Ava, is discovered in their store, panic erupts. The shop is intercepted both by federal authorities and evangelical anti-comic zealots. A witch hunt begins for the escaped comic character, and Ellie, Otto, and a repentant preacher's son named Ryan Lowe trek across the state to return Ava to her family within the dome. The crew must overcome government agents on their trail, Ryan's radical religious father, as well as encountering a plethora of recognizable comic book characters. When Ellie and Ryan are detained after a massive battle at the Dome, the survivors are apprehended by the authorities, where the perpetrator of the crossover event, as well as the Grizzly Comics writers' murderers, are revealed: Donny Cates and Geoff Shaw. Crossover was a major commercial success upon release. Its first issue was among the top 4 highest-selling single issues in November of 2020, according to Comic-Con, and went into multiple printings, including a special 3D edition printed in red and blue with special glasses included. Initial reviews were mostly positive. However, a dissenter worth noting is Sean Dillon of the Comic Book Herald. Dillon suggests that while Shaw's art is solid, Cates' reliance on recognizable IP spectacle over nuanced social exploration and the victimization of fandom as a major plot point are deterrents for what was a massive project. Shaw's issues echo Moore's own dissatisfaction with superhero fiction, going so far as to compare the fantasy of crossover with the fanaticism of the Trump MAGA movement. After 14 issues and 2 trade paperback volumes, the series went on hiatus, first to accommodate Cates' schedule writing 2 ongoings at Marvel. The hiatus would remain indefinitely, as in 2022, Cates would suffer a traumatic car accident which left him comatose and amnesiac for a number of months. In 2025, Cates announced his return to the comic industry, though no official plans to continue crossover have been made. Shaw's schedule has been filled with work on Wolverine, Red Hulk, and Wade Wilson Deadpool, with collaborator Benjamin Percy at Marvel Comics. Does crossover effectively answer the realistic superhero question? Do its character and creator cameos make for exciting reading, or is it just annoying? Do Cates and Shaw truly build on Watchmen's groundbreaking legacy, or is it just another swag jacker? What if they start a war? What if my parents get divorced? What if the bus is late? What if my teeth don't grow in straight? What if I tear my pants? What if I never learn to dance? Everything seems swell, and then the nighttime what-ifs strike again. Shel Silverstein. Diane, you enjoyed Crossover, is what you said?
I did. And I'm sorry, there's 14 volumes or 14 issues?
What did I say?
You said 14, why did we only read 13?
Oh, I might have been counting the 3D issue as one of the issues.
Oh, okay.
Which is, it's just a reprinting of issue 1. Sorry, I think I was wrong on that.
I was like, I'm sorry, do you not say to read the last one?
No,
because
no.
Fun fact, I read this, and then I realized there was a cliffhanger, and then I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to ask Jack if he has access to the rest of it. Well, I guess there is no rest of it.
There is no rest of it, unfortunately.
Yeah!
We've read all of Crossover in its single issue format up to when it stopped being published.
Damn it! I wanted to know how it ended.
Yeah, that's part of my big problem with this is there is no, I mean, there's kind of a conclusion, but it's not quite satisfying enough, I find.
I mean, were they expecting to make more?
It feels like it. Like we never see
Yes.
Geoff Shaw is mentioned as, spoiler alert for this book that we're talking about. It's mentioned that the perpetrator and the planner of the killings of famous comic book writers, specifically writers, is the artist of the series, Geoff Shaw. And we never see him, like he never makes a physical appearance in the book, and we never learn his motivation, which is like frustrating. So I feel like that was going to be what was going to be explored in the last whatever how many issues of this that was going to happen.
Yeah. It ends with, hey, we gotta go kill Geoff Shaw. And I'm like, okay, good. That the second half must be about that. Just kidding, no second half. I mean, okay, if it was meant to end here and it just ends with, yes, we have to go kill Geoff Shaw now, that'd be kind of funny. I rate that.
Yeah, I guess.
That would be funny. I mean, that would be like a big, like, fuck you to the audience of, haha, we set this up. Anyways, now it's done. But, like, I could appreciate it. I still want to know how it ends.
Yes. I mean, it is so ambitious, especially the more that you read about it and the more you know about the background behind it. And, like, I don't know, that is kind of inspiring, I guess. I gotta say, I was not as... When I was conceiving of the series of episodes that we're doing, I knew I had to cover crossover, and I remember liking it a lot more than after I've reread it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting that you assumed I wouldn't like this, but I do. Maybe I like it more than you do.
Maybe. That might be the case.
Which would be very funny.
I don't know. Should we talk... I guess we'll talk formal elements first. You like... Yeah. What about it? Do you like the art or the writing or, I don't know, a combination of both?
So, like, I wouldn't give it, like, super 10 out of 10 on any of those. But, like, I think as a whole, it comes together and makes something, like, enjoyable to read. Like, it tells a story that I think is pretty fun. There are some elements that I'm not the biggest fan of, like the narrator is kind of annoying sometimes.
Yeah, I don't like the narrator either.
I'm like, I get it, you're quirky. You can stop now.
Yeah. That feels the most dated, even of its time. I don't think people were writing comics like this, the way that... So it's written from a first person... This is 2020. This is written from a first person perspective because it's from Donny Cates's, the writer's perspective, who is also a character in the book. But it is using like a quirky... kind of early 2010s style of writing, or like, I don't know, I don't want to call it Tumblr core, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it is quirky, quote unquote. It's quirked up. It is
quirky. I don't hate all of it. I mean, there's one time where it's like, here's to like tell you what's happened so far, and then it's just like a big spread of like the tiny pictures of all the pages
of every
that
page.
Happened.
That is awesome. That was sick.
That's hilarious. Actually. That's funny. Okay, like some of it hits and some of it's a miss with like that kind of thing. I mean, like you read the first page and it's like, let me ask you a question and pay attention. This will be on the final. So quirky. Oh, so
lol.
Tumblr core. I agree.
Lol, LOL,
then,
XD.
Yeah. Exactly. Then it's like, who's more real, us or Superman? And I'm like, well, shut up, us, obviously, you dumbass. Like, I actually exist. But, like, yeah. It's the premise of the comic. Very, very funny. I mean, it is funny that at some point in time in the comic, it's like I think, pretty sure someone at one point in time says, this isn't a comic, like, you know, and it's like, but it is. But it is, though. But it is a comic.
You guys should maybe address that it is. I don't know. They kind of do. Anyway.
They kind of do. But, like, it's never, like, that meta, I guess. It's never, like, the character turns and looks at you and is like, yeah, I know I'm a comic.
Right. There's no Animal Man full fourth wall break. Yeah.
It's not like, wait, what, did that happen in Peter Cannon?
Does he turn to the quote-unquote reader and say, I can see you?
No, for example, on the last page of Peter Cannon... which
he breaks the panel border, right.
He breaks the panel border on the last page. So, like, that I think is more meta, we are, like, talking that we are a comic thing, than anything that specifically happens here. Like, yes, like, the writer is a character in this comic, and he's talking about it being a comic and writing comic, blah, blah, blah. But, like, it never...
But Donny Cates does use a word balloon as a weapon at one point in the book.
Does.
That's pretty fourth wall breaky.
Is that like fourth wall breaky, or is it like implied that like his power is the power of comics?
Right.
Because like it's like his quote unquote the meds wore off, so he's allowed to use his powers now, and then he grabs the word balloon and uses it as a knife to stab someone. So it's like kind of implied that his superpower in this world is he's a comic writer, so he can fight with comics. Which, I mean, okay, I guess in Peter Cannon, his power is formalism, and so he plays with the panels and stuff. So
yeah,
I guess
the conventions of comics, yeah.
It's a similar thing, I guess. But, like, I don't know where I was going with that. But, like, it's not that. It's not too meta where it's, like, annoying, I guess. Like, sometimes the jokes don't hit, but, like, I don't hate it, I guess. Like, that part's fine. Art-wise, it's good. Like, I don't think it's ugly to look at, so points for that. I don't dislike how it's colored. Points for that. One thing that bothers me is, and I don't know why this bothers me, and I don't know why it's so specific, but there are so many times where there's a panel and a character is talking, like there's a word balloon pointed directly at their mouth, and their mouth is closed. Like, I get it. There are lots of times where when you are talking, your mouth is closed. But, like, literally, I'm looking at a page in the first volume. Every single character on this page who is talking, their mouth is closed.
Right.
I noticed it happens a lot with Ellie. I don't know if that's because they want to show off her, like, nice lips or something or whatever, but I'm like, that's what I noticed it with. And I was like, why does this girl not open her mouth when she's talking?
Yeah. I can't say I noticed that because I think, I don't know, that is something of Western comics that has been happening. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a more recent phenomenon, I think. I used to notice that when I was a kid.
Okay.
I think it's just because it's easier to draw people with their mouths closed.
Which is true.
Yeah.
And I guess it's like, if you compare it to the most part with, like, if we're talking about manga, the mouths and faces are usually more detailed and more realistic, as an example like this. I mean, if we're comparing it to, like, what we talked about last week, which is real, which is, like, quite realistic, you know, there's a lot of detail in the most, but a lot of times in manga, it's like when a character's talking, it's just like an open kind of oval. So, like, sure, relatively easy to draw. But maybe it's just one of those things that I have a slight problem with Western comics and how they draw faces, is that they're detailed, sure, but, like, not detailed in a way that's expressive.
They're not expressive. Yeah, exactly.
It's detailed in a way that is realistic, I guess, to a human face, but it doesn't help to exactly convey the story through, like, visual storytelling. Like, yeah, that's a face, so there's the contours, that's where wrinkles would be, I get it. But if you just have, like, kind of, like, a black shadow where the eyes are, I get nothing from that character. You know? Yeah. I get what you're saying. That was, like, my main problem with the art, which is, like, super nitpicky, and I noticed it when I started reading it, but, like, after a while, I was just, like, ignored it because other things were happening. So I can't complain too much. Like, there's nothing that stands out super amazing with the art and nothing that stands out super amazing with the writing. So I'm really trying to figure out why I actually enjoyed this. Maybe just because I thought the story was pretty fun. Like, sure, it does some cliches. Oh yeah, I guess one of the things I like about the art is, like, the way that all the comic characters are, like, done with, like, halftone dots. That's fun.
The coloring in this book is immaculate, and part of it is how it plays with the conventions, the storytelling conventions you can tell who's a comic book character and who's not based on how they're colored. And I like that a lot.
I mean, there are times when the comic book characters are not done in halftone.
Right.
I don't know why.
There is plot reason. Like Ellie, for instance, they explain in the book that she's like masking herself by covering herself in makeup, and she's wearing a wig. The other, I think they explain that the longer you're outside of the dome, you lose your powers, for one thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you also become more real. That's why... So, again, spoiler alert, I should stop saying that. Negan from The Walking Dead shows up as an antagonist. And even though he is a comic book character, he is not done in the halftones, because he's been outside of the dome for so long, but he's still in black and white. Like, he's still done in grayscale, because the Walking Dead comic book was originally in black and white. Does that, I don't know, does that answer anything?
I thought it was more like he's just in black and white, because that was just, like, coloring style of the comic. It's like he doesn't have halftone dots because that's not how the comic was colored, I guess. That's what I'm kind of assuming.
Yeah, it could be that also.
The one thing I'm thinking about, and I don't know if it's just to make it like look cooler to look at, I guess, but in volume 6, when our main characters manage to break into the dome, there is a 2-page spread of a bunch of comic book characters fighting. They are not colored in halftone dots.
They're not with the halftones. Interesting.
The background is. But, like, the characters, they're just colored normally like the rest of the comic. And then in some of the following pages, I don't know if it's because they're inside the dome. Yeah, because they're inside the dome, and a bunch of the characters, like, a hit girl shows up, and she's just colored normally. Maybe it's like they're inside the dome now, and everything, like, looks the same now, so it doesn't really matter. There's no differentiation between comic and not comic, blah, blah, blah. I don't know, something like that. Maybe they just got tired of coloring with the half-tone dots, but yeah.
I think it's intentional because they pull... Oh, what's the little girl's name?
Ava?
They pull her into the dome first, and she's halftone outside, and then as soon as they're inside, nobody, including herself, is colored with the tones.
Yeah.
So maybe it's intentional. They just don't explain it.
Speaking of the girl, Ava, is she a character from a comic book that I'm supposed to know?
Again, I think they were going to explain that if they had more issues down the road. The fact that she has laser vision, I think should be a hint, but I don't know what it's hinting at. I couldn't find, I can't find who it is. They mentioned that she might be a mutant, which suggests, I don't know. I've got some speculation as who would have appeared in subsequent issues down the line. We can get into that maybe later as we talk about like the characters or whatever. So I could speculate, but they don't ever explain. No.
Yeah, okay, because I was like, maybe it's just because I am not super familiar with these types of characters. For example, in that issue 6 where they have the 2-page spread of all these characters fighting, I recognized one character in here. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, not familiar with these ones.
Right. Except for these are all published characters.
Yes, they are. And I presume, because one of the questions I was thinking is like, how did they get the rights to have all these characters?
Yes.
These must all be characters that Image has.
They're all creator-owned. Correct. They're either Dark Horse or Image creator-owned characters. Yeah.
Because I went and looked up the one character that I recognized, and that was from a series published by Image, and I was like, oh, from my sample size of one, I am going to assume they didn't have to go outside and go ask, like, hey, can we use your character in our series, please?
Right. This would have been just a quick email to get cleared off. There wouldn't have been... No lawyers needed to be involved in any of these instances. Exactly.
Do you think that limits the realism? It says that, like, all comic characters ever are now exist in the real world. The fact that all the ones that show up are, like, Image owned, do you think that, like, limits how realistic it is? Because you're just like, okay, well, like, obviously not all of them.
Shaw will sneakily include stuff in the background. Like, I'm trying to remember, I think it's issue 2. He draws Stay Puft Marshmallow Man from Ghostbusters in one of the panels, which you would need to, like, sign off with lawyers. They just don't, draw attention to it, so they get the okay. Yeah. And then in other instances, they either recolor or they slightly retool characters, so you get the reference, but they don't explicitly say it. Like in issue 3, there's that mecha that's fighting a giant squid. That's clearly supposed to be the RX-70 Gundam, but it's just a generic mecha standing in for the Gundam, right? Or there's a couple pages where there's a big purple guy, and that's clearly just the Hulk, but they flipped his colors so his pants are green and his skin are purple, right? Like,
yeah.
I think... Now we're getting into speculation territory. I think had this series gone on, this was right around the time where Marvel and DC, for a while, Marvel, for whatever reason, was not allowing anybody to do any crossovers. They were not crossing over any material. There was a rare instance in a special where they did like a Attack on Titan meets Marvel team up. But that was like a very specific instance in like 2015. But other than that, since like 2005, they like stopped doing crossovers. But right around like once this was done being published, Marvel has started to cross over with other companies and other franchises, including last year, they started doing full Marvel and DC crossovers, right? So I speculate that and DC is usually fair game, like they don't really care because they're the number 2 publisher and they need whatever clout they can get. I think had this series gone on, they probably would have gotten the rights to Marvel and DC characters, and I have no doubt in my mind that Donny Cates would have wanted Venom to show up in one of these issues.
Yeah. Question. So, would they have had the ability to have Superman or Batman in this?
I think eventually, like, there's no way they tease Superman right from the beginning. There's no way that they wouldn't have had Superman show up at the very least, or Batman. I think the Batman is a misdirect because
I think it is because it's like, oh, they're gonna have Batman, and then it's like, it's The Walking Dead, and I'm like, wait, okay, so explain the little.
Why is it a Batarang then? Right? Why is it a Batarang then? I don't get that either. It's a red herring.
All I can think is, you know what? Sometimes when like creators are writing mangas, they just like kind of forget about something they mentioned at the start, and then like 300 chapters later, you're like, hey, what about that thing? And you just have to be like, yeah, it was just a forgotten plot point. Like, it was a mistake. They've totally changed what that person looks like or whatever, like that kind of thing. I don't know if that's the kind of continuity things that exist in this type of series, but like...
Yeah, I think this would have been... I think Cates has admitted that this is written... Like, he writes month to month. Like, he doesn't plan everything out as one big chunk. He probably has had an idea for what the ending is supposed to be, but I'm sure there is stuff that he forgets about in his scripts.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, I think that is just straight up a red herring. I think you're just supposed to think, oh, Batman is murdering all of these comic book writers. That's so out of character, and then turns out it's Negan.
That's kind of a dick move, though. Like, that's just lying to you.
It's lying. It is lying.
Which, like, I'm fine if it's, like, a clever misdirect, if you're like, oh, Negan stole it from, it was, like, a memorabilia thing that was in one of the writers he killed place or whatever. Like, then okay, fine.
He did go to Kirkman's. When he starts, his first victim is his own creator, Kirkman.
Yeah.
Who has, like, it's all his office is like a playground. It's all toys and statues and real? Comics. I think that is real. Life? I think that is real life. So I think if we're really reading into it, I think we're meant to assume that Negan took that from Kirkman and planted it on Scott Snyder's body.
And I mean, like, look, people love to do this all the time with manga where they're just like, oh, look at this super smart thing that the mangaka did at this point, blah, 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 blah. But, like, 90% of the time, it's probably just a happy accident or, like, people just, like, rationalizing things that is actually just, like, a mistake. So we could be just, like, really reaching for that because they didn't explicitly show it, but we can assume.
I think I'm willing to give Cates props. Like, this book has bigger problems than that, I think. Because even so far as he speculates, which is a question that I had in the early chapters that he then addresses, he speculates that some of these characters are from specific issues. Like, they were pulled out of specific issues of comics and placed into the real world. They don't have their full history. Like, by the time this book was printed, Walking Dead was, like, done. Like, Negan had a full story arc. They mentioned that in the book, that, like, Negan isn't this asshole murderer anymore in the book. But when he shows up in crossover, he's the Negan that we all know from when he first appeared and from the TV show, right? Where he's this maniacal, asshole murderer. So I'm willing to give Cates props of thinking about stuff and thinking about what your reader would question. Yeah. I don't know what else I was gonna say.
Yeah. It's kind of on this point of, like, getting characters from fictional worlds. Just, like, a thing I want to touch on that you said in your intro. Do people not like Number of the Beast by Heinlein?
They hate it.
Really?
Everything I could find, every critical reaction was, Heinlein's one of the greatest writers of all time. This is a great idea for a plot. This book sucks. This is a mistake.
Okay, because that's my second favorite Heinlein book I've read so far, so Oops, I guess I have bad taste. Sorry.
Whatever. Like,
I like it. Have you read Number of the Beast?
I haven't read any Heinlein. I'm just aware of his work.
Fun fact, my favorite part about that book is they have a car that talks, and the car's name is Gay Deceiver, which I think at the time meant something way different than it could mean now, and I think it's hilarious.
That's pretty funny.
But yes. No, I mean, that book suffers a lot of problems of Heinlein's, but like, I love analyzing authors by reading their stuff, so it's a very illuminating work into what kind of person Heinlein was. Bro has some interesting opinions that, like, he should probably not have. But, like, it's an interesting book. It's like, what if, like, we talked about math a lot? Also, the car's name is Gay Deceiver. Also, he just references a bunch of his own books. And
That's
I'm
awesome.
like, yeah.
That is pretty based, actually.
Because, like, in the book, it's like, yeah, they can go to different dimensions. I'm just gonna, like, very vaguely, whatever. Go to different dimensions, and all fiction, I guess, or whatever, all books or whatever do exist. So they go to, like, the Wizard of Oz land or whatever. And I'm like, I don't know enough about this media to know that there is actually more than one book, so sue me. So they do stuff like that. But then in the last half of the book or whatever, the last third, he's like, what if I just made my characters interact with some of my other characters? And I'm like, wait. He's just like, yeah, all fiction exists, aka my fiction, so some of my characters can talk to each other, crossover with my own characters. And I'm like, I guess you didn't have to write such a math-heavy book to do this. Anyways, I think it's a pretty okay book. I like it.
I mean, that's not unlike crossover, where Donny
Cates has
his own characters meet his own characters.
And I assume that, well, I don't know, Heinlein is super full of himself. I assume that potentially... for having written a series like this where you're a character, I assume you have to have a pretty big ego about yourself.
Cates, he admits so much in the book that he is an egotist and he has a god complex.
Yeah.
Which kind of surprises me. Yeah. Every interview I've heard him, he sounds kind of shy and humble, but I don't know.
He's a comic person. He probably just doesn't know how to talk to other humans.
True.
Let's be real. But I'm like, I don't think you could write this type of series without like really thinking your writing's pretty hot shit. You're pretty good.
Well,
pretty
mean, his writing was hot shit at the time. Like, he was.
Yeah.
I can't stress enough. Donny Cates was the number one comic book writer before crossover came out. Venom was such a big deal. People were legitimately comparing Venom to Watchmen. I was tempted to either talk about crossover or Venom in this series.
Oh my god, can you please talk about Venom? I love Venom. I've probably read some of Cates' Venom stuff, but like I love it almost ironically. So
it is the best Venom stuff. His Venom stuff's good. It's legitimately good. It is the best that character has been since he debuted in Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah. My sister would remember better what Venom things we've read, but like... No, Venom's fun. I would love to talk about Venom. It would be such a I would not compare it at all to Watchmen. I'd go off on my own tangents about it, but this is coming from someone who unironically really enjoys the Venom movies, so... They're great.
I don't know about that.
I am not a film critic. I did not go to school for, like, analyzing literature or film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like those Venom comics.
Yeah. But, like, back to the point of like, yeah, including yourself as, like, the author in the books. They do it a couple times. Obviously, Donny Cates is in them. There's the one issue about freaking, what's his name?
It's Chip Zdarsky, and it's written by Chip Zdarsky. It's a different artist. It's Phil Hester.
I'm sorry. I got so confused. I was like, is this related? What's happening?
It is sort of just to fill you in on, like, what's going on in the world. Like, it's sort of fleshing out the world by showing you these writer murders that are going on.
All I could imagine is, like, Chip Zdarsky or whatever his name is saw that this thing was cool, and he was like, hey, can I, like, make one of these issues just, like, for fun? And then they were like, yeah, sure, why not? Make it vaguely related to story. And I'm like, okay. Sure.
Yeah. This might be the best.
Slightly different?
Yes. This might be the best issue in the bunch, I feel.
You like that one?
I like this one a lot.
Tell me more, why?
I mean, Chip's a good writer.
What
He's
does
also a
he
good
do? Tell me more
artist.
about what this guy does.
His big thing is he drew, like, he's known primarily as a writer, but he's also an artist, and he drew a book called Sex Criminals, which is amazing.
Okay.
That would be an interesting one to cover. But he was also on the rise right around the same time Donny Cates was, where he's doing creator-owned stuff and doing stuff with Marvel that's getting tons of critical acclaim and is selling really well, and is starting to get adapted into like film. He did a run on Spectacular Spider-Man that's really good, and Marvel 2-in-1, which is about Human Torch and the Thing hanging out. He did my favorite of his big two stuff is a run on Howard the Duck that he did that is like kind of revolutionary. But seriously, Sex Criminals is incredible, and he shows up in Sex Criminals. Both he and
we
his
could do
collaborator.
Sex Criminals. That's one of the books you gave me. I'm holding.
Did I
it
give
right
you
now.
Sex Criminals? That's a good
Yes,
one.
I have that in my hand right now. I'm looking at it.
That is a good one.
Okay.
Anyway, but this issue, it's like it's almost like a Coen Brothers sort of tale of he's like gone up north. He's a Canadian writer. Here's a Chip Zdarsky story that sort of involves him. So he grew up in my hometown. He went to school where I come from. I won't name where it is. It's out there.
Awesome.
You can find it.
Yeah, that's fine.
One time there was a garage sale where they advertised that they were selling comic books. So I went to this garage sale, and it's like, they didn't have great stock, but they had some stuff that I was going to pick up. And the guy who was selling came over to me. It was like, "Oh, you like comic books?" I'm like, yeah, I'm here for the comic books. He goes, "Well, my wife taught this guy," and he holds up a volume of Sex Criminals. "He taught this guy in grade school." And I was like, "Wait, you know Chip Zdarsky?" And he's like, "Yeah." He doesn't, by his real name, of course. Chip Zdarsky is his nom de plume. And then he overcharged me on those comic books. He tried to sell me these comic books for like $200, and it was like four books that you could find in dollar bins. Anyway.
You didn't buy them?
I did. I lowballed him though.
Okay.
I kind of had to explain.
He was like $200, and you're like $3.
No, I was like,
okay.
"This is how much money I have, man." And he's like, "Okay."
So funny.
Amazing. So anyway, I like Chip Zdarsky.
That.
I like his work, and I like this issue a lot. It's very dark and twisted and weird.
It felt very
It's also
random.
kind of sexually charged also, which is kind of funny.
Yes. Yeah, I did notice that. I was like, okay, sure. But also going back to the where's the what he talks about how he's really cool, or like his comic book character version of him says he's like really cool or something. I don't know. It says at some point, and all I can think is like, you have to be full of yourself to do this, right? Right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
totally.
But like, I could not imagine ever wanting the character of me to be in a comic that I made.
What are you talking about? You have a comic that stars you.
Okay, yeah, it's like it's an autobio comic. That's different. Autobio comic. To like have a fiction story where I am one of the characters. I could also
fictionalized version of you.
I
see what you're saying.
I could just make a cool character. I don't have to try to make myself cool. That's what it's called when you make characters. It's because you're not cool, so you make characters that are cool, and then you're like, hell yeah. That's the whole point of making characters. So, like, if I want a cool character to exist, I'm not going to make myself, but have myself be like, I'm cool. I'm the cool fake version of you, and I'm going to spoon myself, and I'm also save myself from a car crash, and go out like a hero. No, no thanks. I'll just make a cool character, how about that? But maybe I don't have enough of an ego, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Part of, like, the fictional Chip Zdarsky is like an over-the-top caricature, and Chip says as much in the issue.
Mm-hmm.
But, I don't know, it's supposed to be, like, funny. I don't know.
Yeah. Yes, very fair.
It's supposed to be, like, twisted. I don't know.
Yeah. But, like, that, he shows up, Donny Cates shows up, and the guy that wrote Walking Dead, I don't know, or drew it, who was that guy?
Robert Kirkman.
Who gets killed by Negan? Yeah. That guy also shows up. So did they get permission for him to be in this?
They must have been signed. I mean, all these guys are, like, friends. Like, they're like at least acquaintances, if not friends.
Yeah.
I feel bad for Scott Snyder. I don't know if he signed off on getting murdered outside a movie theater.
Yeah, that is kind of funny, yeah.
And I also wonder about Brian Michael Bendis also appears, and Donny Cates does like a scathing parody of Bendis's writing that is like, I cannot express how on the nose it is when they're doing that Gilmore Girls ping pong dialogue with the cops.
Yeah.
That's literally every Bendis comic I've ever read. It's like, yeah, that oh my goodness.
Like, yeah. And like, I wonder, for those kind of things, like these references to the industry or people industry or their comics and stuff, someone like you who knows these writers and series a lot better than I do you get more out of this than I do? Or does it annoy you more?
I did at the time, and this is my main problem, is after having rereading it, I don't know if there's a lot of bones to this thing beyond that. And the premise, I guess. I do think that the premise is something to be explored. I think the idea of, what if characters from specific issues of comics were walking around and talking to people? That would be really fucked up, wouldn't it? I think that is an interesting premise. I don't know if there's a lot more to that, though. Like, I don't think Ellie necessarily is a very interesting character. I don't think Ryan necessarily is a very interesting character. The federal agent, their handler, I don't remember his name. I think I've seen that character.
Pendleton or something, I don't know.
I've seen that character a million times.
Yep.
Yeah, so all that stuff. Even, like, they tease out this romance angle right from the beginning. They're like, Ellie and Ryan are about to fall in love. Two characters from two totally different worlds. And it's like,
yeah, that pissed me off.
I don't really care about this.
Because, like, there's sometimes where the character of Donny Cates in the story is like, this was just supposed to be a romance. And all I could think is that true?
The other thing is, knowing what I know about Donny Cates' personal life and his other writing, he does not know how to write romance. He's not a very romantic person, I don't think, unfortunately.
Yeah. So I'm like, obviously this series was not intended to be a romance. You don't accidentally do that by accident.
Right.
To veer that much off. So it's obviously just the character of Donny Cates saying that and saying like, blah, 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 the whole thing got away from him. We gotta go kill Geoff Shaw. But I'm like, why even bring that up? If I was reading just the first volume and it said, oh yeah, this is going to be a love story about these two main characters, and then I was introduced to these two characters, I probably would have just been like, no thanks, actually. Maybe I won't read the whole thing. No.
Like, what is it about these two people that they find attractive in each other? I guess, well, maybe Ryan has a fetish for comic book characters, I get, like, because he has to hide them from his dad.
Yeah.
Like there is something illicit about comic books. And that's kind of true of the real world, too. I'm sure there are... Not I'm sure. I am 100% positive there are people who masturbate to comic book characters. I don't think that's what Cates is trying to get at, but it kind of reads that way.
But also, there is no reason... There's nothing about this boy here that Ellie would find interesting or attractive. He's a weenie.
He's a weenie. He sucks.
He gets a lightsaber, then immediately gets his ass beaten.
He gets a kryptonite gun, and then he doesn't do anything with it.
Yeah, he's like, oh, he's got his cool moment. He's gonna shoot a child.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, no, you kind of suck, my guy. But yeah, no, I'm glad it didn't end up being a romance. And when I was reading this, and I was like, oh, I can't wait to read the second half. I sure hope it doesn't actually turn into a romance. I'm just gonna assume it never does. Because that would be really lame and bad.
That would be lame. That would suck.
It'd be so lame.
You'd have to really work.
Yeah. It could be a romance between other characters, like
Chip Zdarsky and himself.
And himself, exactly. I believe that more. I believe that romance more than I believe Ellie and Ryan. I believe that romance more than I believe the romance that supposedly happened in Peter Cannon when they kissed. They kissed at the end.
They kissed at the end.
They have those characters have less chemistry than Chip Zdarsky and himself.
Yeah.
But like going back to the does this series do more or less for you by knowing all these characters and knowing the people and stuff? It's just reminding me a bit of way back last season when we talked about Me and Roboco, which is the gag manga about... It's technically about a guy and his robot, but it's literally just a bunch of meta humor about different manga and stuff. And I hate it because it pisses me off how much it just references other characters and other mangaka and that kind of stuff. And Jack liked it.
I did like that one.
It's funny, and he got like 0% of the references. Like, it literally referenced One Piece all the time, and he's like, meh.
I don't know. No, the only reference I understood was the Doraemon reference.
Yeah.
From the earliest chapter, and it's like, it's not really about that anymore, but I don't know, I got a kick out of that.
Yeah. So, like, I wonder if it's like a similar thing, because, like, maybe I like this because I don't really get all the meta stuff, and I just, like, kind of ignore it and whatever. And you think it's less cool now because you're like, whatever.
Like, there's just, I don't know that there's anything beyond the meta stuff at a certain point. Like...
Yeah. Because that's how I viewed Me and Roboco, that I believed it had no substance outside of it referencing stuff, and that didn't do anything for me.
Right.
And I guess because I knew nothing about any of this stuff it's referencing, I guess it's like the hypothetical situation where someone read Peter Cannon and had not read Watchmen.
Watchmen, yeah. Yeah, true.
So, like, I guess because I did find this series enjoyable, I guess there is hypothetically something in it that's worth more than just the references and stuff it's making, because I kind of liked it for just, like, the story, I guess.
I guess. And, like, yeah. I shouldn't say... There's a way to use references or allusions, which we talked about in our Peter Cannon episode, and there's a way to not. You ever watch or read Ready Player One?
I heard a lot about the movie and about the book, and I've never actually consumed either of those medias, and from what I have heard, I do not believe I'd want to, because I think I am too cool.
Yeah, I cannot, in a way... So I highly recommend Nirvana the Band, the show. Well, however I feel about that, I feel the opposite about Ready Player the One in all of its media. I was in a class where we watched the film. It was a class about cyber literature, and so we watched the film and analyzed it. And from what I understand, the film is superior to the book, because the book is just the author describing cultural references. Like, there's not a lot of plot going on. It's just him typing away, explaining things. But the movie is also that. At one point, a character gets the holy hand grenade from Monty Python and the Holy Grail, right? Which they describe as a legendary weapon or whatever. And there's this beautiful John Williams score to accompany the unveiling of the holy hand grenade. Now, me, who has seen Monty Python, knows this is very stupid. What you've done here is very dumb. You've referenced a thing that is a joke, like a one-off joke. I don't understand why you have all this fanfare. This is stupid. It has taken me completely out of your narrative. You should not have done this. And Crossover almost does that, but it is more... Like, when Madman shows up, I do legitimately pop. I'm like, hell yeah, Madman's here. I love Madman.
Which character was that?
He's the one, when they abscond with the Paybacks, who are Donny Cates' creations, they're like asking who's helping get people out of the dome. And it's assumed that it's Superman, but it's actually Madman, this character. Okay, yeah. He's in all white, and he fights with a yo-yo. Yeah. So I pop when Madman shows up, because I love Madman, and that's legitimately sounds like something Madman would do. Madman's like a upstanding, nice comic book character. He would be helping other people. That works. When they unveil Velofax, the sword, the talking sword for the first time, I pop, because yes, I like God Country, and I think God Country is a great book by Donny Cates, but also I think, I don't know, its place in this narrative I find interesting. It goes beyond just being like, remember this thing? Do you remember this thing? It's really important, right? Like...
Yeah. So, yeah, the guy in all white, what was his name?
Madman.
The Madman? I do not know who this character is. When I got to this point, all I could think by looking at him is, when I saw this, I was like, this is a bad guy, right?
No, he's a good guy.
He looks like a bad guy. I don't know why about his entrance or what he says or about his character design. I was like, this guy's gonna betray everybody, right? This is totally a bad guy, right? Maybe it's because they set him up to be Superman, and then it wasn't. It was some shady looking guy. Like, I don't know who this character is, but like I thought he was gonna be a bad guy.
He is weird looking. He's kind of Frankenstein-esque. But he's like nice. Like he's nice in his comic, and he's nice in this comic. So he's like in character. It's good. It's good to see him.
Yeah. So you do like the references.
I do like most of the references. I think they're done mostly well. The only times that they falter are there's a bit where the federal agent guy, he's going to go save Ellie and the crew from Negan, and he puts on a mecha suit. And, like, clearly it's supposed to be an Iron Man suit, but they didn't get the rights to the Iron Man suit, so it's just some generic armor.
Armor, yeah.
So that doesn't work, because it's like, I get what you're trying to reference, but it's not special, and, like, I don't know why he would pick Iron Man specifically, but it's not Iron Man. Like,
that would be one of the situations where if they would have got the rights for it, it would have worked, but you're like, You can tell that they didn't have the rights to all the superheroes or all the comic book characters ever.
Right.
Yeah.
So stuff like that doesn't work. The amalgams, which is a reference to Amalgam Comics, which was when Marvel and DC not only crossed over, but would like fuse two of their characters together for a month back in the 90s. Like, I also find that doesn't work, because it's like, that is way too inside baseball. And it's also like, there's no real world, like, we're not sewing people together in the army. Like, that doesn't, I don't get why would you have this idea? It's fucking gross and weird. Like, I get why Donny Cates had that idea, because it's like fun to see a guy with Punisher legs and Iron Man head and Batman torso, but like, there's no logical in-universe reason to do this. So that doesn't work also, I find.
What do you think is, you earlier alluded to that, there's bigger problems in this comic. What do you think is the biggest problem?
I mean, the biggest problem is, part of it is the characterization of its main cast. Like, I don't really care about any of these people. I wasn't sad when Otto died, right? Like, you were?
I was like, okay, they killed the only character I kind of liked. Now what?
Okay.
So I'm like, the main two characters I don't really care for, because they are extremely generic. Or Ellie is a very generic main character. I am notorious for never liking the main character of a thing very much, because they're very boring. And then Ryan is just a weenie. Right. And then, like, a child, whatever, it's a child, I don't care. And I'm like, the kind of like the weird guy who likes comics, sure, this is the by elimination, he's the best character, and they kill him, and I'm like, okay, now what?
Right.
Yeah.
And then my other problem is, I think it is too drawn out, and I think it becomes directionless around about issue 8. It kind of gets directionless when they all get picked up by the feds. Now, it eventually picks up steam again after the Negan reveal and after Donny Cates breaks out and they reveal that it's Geoff Shaw behind everything. The problem, of course, being that there's no conclusion. So I'm wondering if maybe if Donny was a little bit more humble, maybe if he pared the series down to maybe just, 12, 13 issues instead of this kind of longer, drawn out story that he's trying to tell, maybe it would have been better. Maybe it would have been more satisfying. Maybe a little bit less time doing aping Bendis's ping pong dialogue. Maybe more time with our characters. I don't know.
I'm just like, some of the problems you have with this series are some of the problems I am very apt to not have a problem with, because I read manga. The series is long and drawn out and it kind of gets aimless. Yeah, literally every manga series ever. I'm like, I'm out here reading things that are like 700 chapters long, and I'm like,
and I'm complaining about 13 issues.
No, I read this and I was like, literally one of the thoughts I had was like, I think I like this because it kind of reminds me of manga, as in it's kind of long.
Okay. I can see it.
And then being like, and then it just kind of ends, and I'm like, you know how often that happens with manga, where just like the author just kind of goes on hiatus, or the series just ends, or there's
peters
out. Just like a really shitty like 24 or 48 page like cram everything in ending that you're like, the series got canceled or the guy got bored. The amount of times that happens when you're reading something and you're like, hey, this is fun, and then you're like, I don't know, like 40 chapters in, and then there's just, oh, it's next time's the last chapter. You're like, we just started an arc. What do you mean? So maybe these are like things that I am conditioned to not find a problem with, because if I did, I would not survive reading manga.
Right.
So I'm like, no, this interests me way more than like the one. No, Peter Cannon was what, like 5
issues? Yeah.
Yeah, because it was like, that's too short. You can't develop anything. Whether I don't care about any of these characters. I care less about these characters than I guess I did for even the characters in crossover. But I'm like, I don't care. You did not manage to make me feel anything for the romance you tried to have. If it was longer, I think it would have been better. So I have no problem with how long this is, or it gets meandery. I never found it got meandery. I mean, I felt like it was kind of like that from the start. So I was like, oh well.
Fair enough.
I mean, like, I was just here to have a good time.
I don't know. Maybe this is just me being disappointed by hindsight, right? I do remember loving this when it was coming out and thinking that this was such a big deal. Mm-hmm. And it's still fine. Like, I would still recommend people read this as a curiosity. Even if Donny Cates doesn't have the heat he used to have. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, like, yeah, I didn't have any nostalgia with this. I had no attachment to any of the source material. I was just given a fun little romp of 13 issues to read. So I was like, yeah. Didn't take any of it very seriously. Didn't, be like, I did kind of at some point in time forget that it was even going to be in the Children of Watchmen series. And then I was like, oh yeah, how's that related? For reference, I took these comics with me on a camping trip, and I was camping and roasting hot dogs by the fire and reading these. So, like, honestly, I was in a pretty good mood. I had a good time.
That's a good space to read these.
Yeah. Exactly. And I was like, fun little story. What do you mean I only have the first half? Oh, okay, it's not completed. Okay, well, no. I had fun. Yeah.
Do you agree that this is trying to build on Moore's legacy? Like, and Gibbons. I should also add Gibbons in there. Is this a child of Watchmen? Do you agree with me on that?
I mean, like, I guess kind of in the, if you could say that, well, the landscape of comics was like, it was affected by Watchmen, and everything after it was affected by Watchmen in some way. Then yes, by virtue of this coming after Watchmen, it was affected by Watchmen in some way. The closest I really felt to it being like Watchmen was like, there is a catastrophic thing happens to a city, and like it's kind of Aliens, I guess, question mark. Yeah.
That feels pretty overtly.
Yeah, so it's like maybe Watchmen. It started a very, like, the start was like a vague reference to a similar thing, and then not much of it after that felt very Watchmen-y.
In issue 3, they do the opening monologue is all about, it's describing the ending of Watchmen, and then they're talking about, speaking of giant squids, like they do reference Watchmen, and at one point, part of a red herring is we're supposed to lead to believe that the writer who's having all of these premonitions, he has like a beard and he's got long hair, and we're sort of led to believe that it's supposed to be Alan Moore, when really it's Donny Cates, and Donny Cates admits later on in the series, oh, the Alan Moore red herring didn't really work out. Like, it didn't really make any sense.
Would have probably...
You wrote that, though.
Yeah. Maybe thought it would have, like, gone over better, but I guess, from my perspective, as someone who totally forgot what Alan Moore looks like, I was not affected by that. I was like, who's this homeless-looking man in jail? Oh, I'm about to find out. Okay. Who's Donny Cates again? Oh, he's the guy writing this? Looks at the front cover. Oh, that's who that is. Okay. Yeah.
I don't know. Also, again, it is an interesting take on quote-unquote realistic superheroes, too. I really like the premise of, what if you got to chat with comic book characters? Wouldn't that be fucked up? I just wish it was, I don't know.
Like, it could have really explored some of these, like, a comic book character meets its creator. So, like, that's kind of that is an interesting concept, and it does do some interesting stuff when Negan meets his creator, blah, blah, blah. And then it proceeds to have the absolute goriest couple panels in the whole thing. Like, okay. Is that a reference to how
Walking
gory
Dead.
Walking Dead is? Okay.
Yes.
Because I was like, this feels out of place. I can really feel Negan's malice here because of how absolutely apeshit he went. on this guy's head, but also I was like, this is definitely out of character for this series.
For the series.
So, yeah, but it's a reference to Walking Dead. Okay. But anyways, like that's an interesting concept of like, yes, the comic characters meet their creator. Like, what would you say? Like, and he's like, yeah, why did you make me make my life suck? And he's like, well, money.
Well, and you'd be less interesting if you didn't do these things. Also, is Kirkman's argument,
which is very fair. Like, if you do you ever like look at the characters you've created and be like, yeah, this person would hate me for the things I made this character go through. Yes. But, like, that's how you create character in characters.
Right. You need conflict, right? You need conflict. That's how story works.
Yeah. And, like, yeah, sometimes I feel bad for making my characters have to, like, go through what they do, but, like, I need an ending for the story, so sorry, there has to be conflict. It isn't really interesting if you just have a good life.
Right.
Sorry. So it's like, yeah, that's a good thing. I personally think it's a good thing that most comic book characters and most characters in general don't exist, because I do think a lot of writers are very much like, either check out how, like, cool I am by making this character all fucked up. I think that happens a lot. So I think a lot of fictional characters would be absolutely awful to exist in real life, and we probably shouldn't want them to exist.
No, of course not. And that should be the lesson at the end of crossover. Yeah. Like, that should be the conclusion of, well, we bring them to life through fiction, and that should be good enough. Like, yeah, that is enough. They don't have to be real.
Don't know how many people out there need to hear this, but no, that fictional character does not want to date you. I can guarantee you that. I can guarantee you. And you don't want to date that fictional character either.
Yeah, the parasocial relationships people have with fiction. Again.
Oh my god.
That should be the lesson of the book. That's what Alan Moore was trying to say in Watchmen, is these guys are all assholes.
Do you think that was the message in crossover?
No, I don't. That kind of frustrates me.
Do you think the message was Donny Cates likes his own writing?
He likes his own books. And listen, I do too, but I don't go out and say it.
I don't write a whole series about how much I like my own writing.
Yeah.
Yeah, also, I don't make a series
sometimes I don't like my own books. That would be way more interesting, I think.
I think he's a bit self-deprecating. I mean, yeah, us at some points, but like,
the only self-deprecating thing he says, I mean, he kind of says it about crossover as it's happening, but at one point he says, "Oh, it's from the paybacks," and nobody read it, and it didn't make any money. But it's still really good. Like, he's still like, but it is really good, though. Like, I'm a misunderstood artist.
That's so much like, my greatest weakness is my perfectionism.
Yeah. I work too hard.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, he's definitely really likes his own writing there, that's for sure. I mean, like, I also think it would be also even probably more annoying of a series if someone wrote a series and they were like, yeah, actually, here, I don't like my own writing and I think my books suck. I'm going to write a whole series about it. I'd be like, okay, get over yourself and write a better series.
Yeah,
then.
that'd be a little depressing, I suppose.
That'd be so pretentious. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, someone just writes a series and they just, like, dissect their own failures as a writer or whatever, but because they're a writer, it would be really pretentious.
Yeah.
Because you also wouldn't do that kind of thing unless you fully believe that you are a good writer.
Or at the very least that you think that you're able to learn a lesson when maybe clearly you can't.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to ask, you mentioned in your intro something victimization of fandom.
Yes.
I never really got that kind of. Like explain what you meant in this regards.
Well, like the comic shop is like being picketed by like evangelicals, and like comics do have a history of, I don't know, being demonized, specifically in the 1950s with Frederick Wertham and the birth of the Comics Code, right? There were, it was kind of the height of weird, paranoid, McCarthy hysteria, and comics were under fire for that, along with most of all media, right? Like, music was also doing that because people were afraid of listening to black voices, and TV and movies were also that because people were afraid of potentially socialized messaging. But like at the same time, and this is referenced in the article that I reference. Slightly before this was going on, I can't believe I'm saying this on a fucking podcast. Do you know what Gamergate is?
Why do I feel like, have you brought this up before? Why do I? Yeah, I know what Gamergate is.
It's really stupid. That's why. Okay, so because people in comics fandom have no originality, there was Comicsgate, which was a similar, very stupid controversy surrounding. I mean, basically, it was to try and protest women getting jobs in comics, which is like, fuck off. Also, the people who were spearheading it, turns out, are white supremacists. So, also fuck off.
What a surprise!
What a shocker, right? But a lot of that was, we let these people into our hobby, and now they've ruined it, right? That was the sentiment from these people behind Comicsgate. Mm. So I kind of get why someone would suggest that Otto is also, like, is aligned with that perspective. Like, he denies somebody selling their government-approved comics to the shop because they're not of the same quality of his own stock. I don't necessarily agree with that. Like, I kind of get more what Otto is trying to say in the vein of 1950s. Like, the books that were being thrown in fires in the 50s, those were good books. Like, EC was really doing something with their horror and crime comics, and so was every other publisher on the line. They were really trying to change the narrative in subversive ways. I don't quite agree that Otto is like a asshole. But at the same time, I don't know, we still have people who try and like gatekeep comics, kind of, I guess. I don't know. Does anyone actually care about comics really beyond that they get adapted into movies and television? Kind of, sort of, like, whatever. And you can see how that perspective would also align with, you know, right-wing, make quote-unquote great again perspectives. I mean, for God's sakes, in Alberta, we have people who legitimately think that immigration, like, ruined our province when it was our province under conservatives that were advertising to get more people into the province, like, 2 years ago. Like, I don't know. The whole thing's stupid. Yeah. I'm mad all the time. It's fine. Yep, fair enough. I get what he's trying to say.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. I thought you were just gonna be like, oh, the people don't like comics. We feel like comics are being victimized or something, and I was like, what does this mean? What is it an allegory for? Okay, now I understand where you're coming for. I didn't expect to talk about Gamergate or Comicsgate today.
Nor should you, and I hope we don't have to bring it up ever again.
Sorry.
If you subscribe to those beliefs, I don't know what to tell you. Fuck off, I guess. Change your hearts or die.
Yeah, so cringe. Do you think this is a child of Watchmen sort of series? Like, do you think it does something?
I did initially. Yeah. I might be willing to change my mind. It's good. I shouldn't hate on it too bad. It's pretty good. I bet you if I read something else from 2020, this would stack up way better.
But, like, is there anywhere in, like... Okay, you said in your intro that Donny Cates, like, said he was, like, a self-proclaimed student of more. Other than, like, that kind of thing, do you feel that there was any intention in this series of making it directly inspired by Watchmen?
I mean, it is, though, right? Like, just, again, the opening of issue 3 is so blatantly pointed at Watchmen. Like, it's hard for me to ignore the rest of... I mean, there's a murder mystery, just like Watchmen, right? Like, there are superheroes in the real world, just like Watchmen. There's an invasion, just like Watchmen. Like, there's a mysterious mastermind that was in front of your noses the whole time, just like Watchmen. Like, it is so pointedly Watchmen if you just take away all of the references. And I'm fine with that. I'm totally okay with that. And I think when it plays with the form... It plays with it differently than Watchmen, but in interesting ways similar to Watchmen. I wish there was more of that stuff. Like, I wish there was more like the recap page that we mentioned earlier, where it's every page of the book in a 2-page spread. That's brilliant. Even Donny Cates using a word balloon as a weapon. That is kind of smart. I wish they did more of that stuff. There's an instance where it's Madman taking down a bunch of guards in a facility. And it does the comic book thing of, it's like multiple images of him, which is supposed to direct movement, but it would be more interesting if it were like Roger Rabbit, the novel, where he is just able to duplicate himself in order to do stunts. I wish that was sort of explored more. Mm-hmm. And maybe it would be, right? Maybe they would do more stuff like that if there were more issues.
Mm-hmm. And we'd figure stuff out, like, who was Ava supposed to be anything in specific?
Right.
Is Ellie an interesting character or not?
What's Ellie's deal? Right? Like, that's...
Yeah.
I get why she's protective of comics, because that's her heritage. And I suppose that there is an interesting, like, immigrant story to go with that, except for she's white.
And blonde, yeah.
And blonde. But we don't get it here, right? Like...
Mm-hmm. Do you, like, I personally kind of like the whole, yes, it's stupid to call someone ellipses. But I like the concept of it. Like, the ...
The ... I also don't know what that means. Does it just mean to be continued? Like, why is it ...
Question. When you write comics, do you ever have characters where they have a speech balloon that is a ...
I think I avoid that. I don't think it's intentional that I avoid it, but I do think I try and avoid that. Do you?
Because you don't like it, or you think it's dumb?
I think I used to write like that when I was a kid, and I feel like I've grown out of that. Like, I don't need that gimmick anymore, almost.
I use it a relatively large amount. Either a word balloon, which is a ... or a word balloon where it's just a dash. Which
I do use the dash.
Which means slightly different things. But I am looking through some of the comic that I finished recently, and I'm scrolling through the pages. Yeah, I use the ... a lot. Mostly because I do like to play with, like, silence and, like, the lack of speaking. And there is a difference in a panel if there is a character with no speech balloons and a character with a ... panel. It's a good way to include time. For example, I've definitely had panels where it's multiple ... balloons and it implies the passing of time of not saying anything, as opposed to just a panel with a character and nothing. That could imply time, but it also could imply a split second. So it's a good way to, like, include a passage of time without having to include a bunch more panels. Just a little bit of my comic making process and writing stuff. So I like it. And there's something, I can figure out which volume it's in, where it talks a bit about that. And it, like, explains that. And then it has a panel of Ellie standing there and she has a ... I liked that. That was cool. Yeah, this is the first volume. It's the first page she shows up. It says why she was, and ellipses is a weird name. Her parents, they were both writers. They thought it sounded heroic, like some kind of Greek hero or something. The ellipses is the great unknown, her mother would tell her. Those 3 little dots, they can become anything. And I was like, I like this, because it is true. The ... it's like, if you're writing a sentence, the ... imply that something else is coming. So it's like, yeah, it could become anything. It's a great little writing trick. I like it. And I think this single little page and how much I'm reading into it does a lot more writing, like, intrigue than much of the rest of the series does.
Yeah.
Coming to my TED Talk.
Yeah, okay. Mm-hmm. Looking back, I definitely have a page in my last comic that has a ... thinking about it now. Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. That's interesting.
Yeah. No, I use ... a lot. I like using them. I'm looking at a page and there's, like, it's like a spread of 2 pages and there is 1, 2, 3 instances of ... on 2 pages. Because, yeah, it's like, the silence.
Huh. I'm scripting something right now. I'm gonna have to actually look and see what I do. Now you got me thinking. Now you got me pondering.
Yeah, I'm scrolling through it and I'm like, I use it a lot. Because it does imply that there's, like, a pause. It's
or an awkward silence or something,
an awkward silence or thinking. It implies something as opposed to no word balloon, which would imply nothing and that also has its own strength. And sometimes that's the right way to go. But sometimes having a little ... I like it. I think it doesn't happen a lot, I think, in a lot of other mediums. Like, if you're writing, there's a novel, there's never going to just be open quotations, ... close quotations. That would look so stupid in a novel.
Yeah, and you can't really do it in TV or film or animation.
No.
Well, I guess you could do it in animation.
You
Yeah.
could find a way if you were doing like a very comic book kind of thing, where the kind of thing where someone would fight with a word balloon.
Right.
So I think it's very specific to comics, and I think it's a very important part of the comic language that probably most people don't really think about. So I think, yeah, it's kind of cool that it mentioned it, and maybe I am doing that thing where I read too much into something. Oh yes, the English class classic of what is the color of these blinds supposed to mean? But hey, that's the point of this podcast, is it not?
Yes, that is the premise.
Yes. You can overanalyze things.
I don't know. I don't even have a conclusion. Like, I don't really have a thesis now that I think about this series.
Yeah.
Other than, look at this thing. What, do you have any concluding thoughts?
I liked it well enough, and that is potentially because I came into it with extremely low expectations, as in I had no expectations, and also it reminded me of manga in some ways, and for that, yay.
Western comics should become more like manga. That's what you're saying. In order to become good, we need to become more like manga. I don't disagree with that.
I was like, I'm not disagreeing with that.
I don't disagree with that premise.
I promise, one of these days, I will bring a comic to this that is not manga. I can think of 2 that I will bring at some point in time. But yes, I actually like this, and I guess I like this more than you expected me to. Ew. Why did you expect me to not like it? Because it's colored?
Because it's full of all these, like, do you care about powers? Do you care about Madman? Do you care about Black Hammer or
don't know who that is.
Kick-Ass? There's the guy. Here's somebody who I expected to show up again. There's that astronaut guy who tells Ellie that, like, you're not supposed to be here yet or whatever. He's a character from Jeff Lemire's Black Hammer, who I think you've met. He was at last year's Prairie Comics Fest.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I at least chatted with him. And
Nice.
I expect if this had continued, the Black Hammer extended cast would have shown up, which would have been sick. I love Black Hammer. Also worthy of a Children of Watchmen episode, potentially. Anyway, I thought that would just annoy the hell out of you. I thought the Bendis thing would have, like, put you over the top also, but
maybe if I knew who that was.
Maybe if you read a couple Bendis comics, you'd go, oh, this is way too inside baseball.
Maybe just, like, if you want to enjoy a series like this, you just have to go camping at approximately 2 degrees Celsius and sit in front of a fire and eat hot dogs and s'mores and read this whole thing in one sitting. Maybe that's how you have to do it. Yeah.
You need to not be in a comic book headspace to enjoy it.
Yeah. I mean, like, yeah, it's a good little story. You know what? I don't take comics too seriously, man. So I had a good time. Yeah. My thesis is pretty good.
Would you read more of it? If more were to ever come out, would you read more of it?
The thing I was going to do is, in this episode, be like, hey, do you have access to the rest of it? I want to read the rest of it. Like, as with the Black Sad episode, I was like, hey, is there more? This is one of the ones where I was like, hey, I'd want to read more of this. Now I just have to get absolutely wrecked by the fact that there isn't. So,
there isn't.
It is forever. Whatever. I gotta make my own ending now. Cool.
I don't know. I'm sure, not that we have this power, but if enough people got on, specifically Jeff Shaw's case, because he's busy doing Deadpool right now, but if they got on his case, and Donny Cates, to, like, finally finish this off, maybe crossover could return. Maybe.
I was like, be the change you want to see. Write your own 1-issue ending to this.
Sure, or that, I suppose.
Yeah. I don't know if these guys would like sue you for that kind of thing, but
well, it's only some of their characters.
Yeah, if I write my own 1-issue ending to this and I, like, use Donny Cates as a character, will he sue me?
I think he's a public figure. I don't think he can.
Oh, really? Okay. That works.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I don't think I have the time to do that, but I'd like to pretend that I would. Also, I wouldn't be in color because I don't want to. Just make a final chapter, but it's in the vein of, oh, when a manga gets canceled, it has a really rushed last chapter. Yeah. And also draw it in black and white like a manga.
They should have had more manga stuff in here. How's that for a conclusion?
They should have.
The Gundam wasn't enough. I know that would have been hard to like clear. Like you have to like get a translator and talk to somebody probably over at Shueisha to get clearance on that. But
here's the thing: there are so many manga that have that allude to different like characters and stuff. There is so many like comedy mangas that just will like have like refer to a character from something, but it'll just put like a little black bar over their eyes or something, and then like whatever, they can get away with it now. Like the whole vein of it, they're not actually eating at McDonald's. It's called like McWonald's or something,
or
you know.
WickDonald's, yeah.
Yeah, they can do that. They can do that. What, you think like somebody in Japan is gonna notice and care if they just have One Piece really characters in the background?
But I do want like some obscure shonen character to show up. Like I want somebody from Jump to actually show up, just like Madman, and I want it to be like really obscure and weird. Like
they could just find a really old character that would be in public domain at this point.
I guess they could do that.
Get some random Tezuka stuff. I don't know.
That'd be sick, dude. If Astro showed up, that'd be sick.
Yeah, that would have fit. But right at home in the 2-page spread of all the superheroes fighting. Oh, also, yeah. I guess last point. Why were all the superheroes fighting each other?
Why are they fighting each other? I'm sure maybe there would have been an answer to that too. It might have been all Geoff Shaw's manipulating people or something. They do mention that it is weird. They also mention that it is a trope of comics to have superheroes fighting each other. So maybe it's a combination of the two.
I was just going to assume that's what comic book characters do. They fight each other. And if there's a crossover, they'll fight each other in the crossover.
But any good crossover will also tell you they will fight each other and then they'll be best friends by the end of it. So
yeah, I mean, like, it would be really funny if they would have broken into the dome and then all the superheroes are just like having a great time with each other and they've built their own utopian society. Maybe could have happened.
That could have been the ending. Maybe that's the ending. I don't know.
Maybe that's the ending. They find out that there's actually a second dome. And actually everybody of the real world is living inside the bigger dome that is existing within a comic book world.
Like the end of Men in Black or whatever. The world isn't, the universe is inside a marble.
Yeah. that can be the really rushed last issue ending. Yeah, you just find out that it's like, you know, multiple layers and layers, and nothing ever really ends. There's just more fiction inside. Just like Watchmen. Yeah, we're actually fictional characters. We learned we are no different than Superman because we are fictional too. We're inside the dome for some other universe. I mean, that is in All-Star Superman. Superman creates the real world, quote unquote, in that book. Hey, that's enough. Enough. Done. Episode over. Crossover. It's okay. Yeah. Diane likes it. I was nonplussed this reading, but I still recommend it, and I want it to finish. Please finish it. Or you know what? Don't finish it. It's a hilarious way to just end your series, to be like, "Hey, we should kill the writer." Or sorry, no, kill the artist. We should kill the artist. Yeah, kill the artist. Yeah. Okay. Death of the author. Kill the artist. Yeah, fair enough. Thanks for listening. You can find me, Jack, on Blue Sky at Phantom Power Press, spelt with an F. And you can find me, Diane, on Instagram at @OneLittleGremlin. That's @1_little_gremlin. If you want to follow the show, you can do so on Bluesky and Pinksky. That's at panelpalspodcasts. All of our links are in the show notes. If you like the show, please rate and review on your podcast provider of choice. Panel Pals is a Jack Stewartson, Diane Hitchings co-production with editing by Jack Stewartson. Our musical theme is Found by Stemchamp.